Скажите,
How did you manage to
почему
get to Pavlo?
сразу не пускали к Павлу и как вам
How hard was it to get to him?
получилось к нему прорваться, с ним встретиться?
We have this vicious practice in Russia, not to rule out that you have such practices in your law enforcement agencies. The lawyer can't get to a client who is in pretrial detention if the investigative committee, or maybe the FSB, the Russian Federal Security Services, won't allow it. In this case, it's the FSB, but the staff at the pretrial detention center, which in Russia is part of the Federal Penitentiary Service, but is in the same building as the FSB, well, they do as their neighbors tell them, as they say. And they're breaking the law, not allowing him the right to a first meeting with a lawyer. The right to a first meeting means that the lawyer asks about a meeting with the client in order to obtain his consent for legal representation, to show a warrant and the lawyer's certification. He doesn't need an investigator. On Friday, when I was trying all day to get through, I was not allowed to cross the threshold. They said, "You're not on the list of lawyers admitted to the case." Well, there's only one lawyer there, the one who's coming to see Pavlo. The investigator couldn't be found. He was busy. But in the evening, he called me back. We agreed to a meeting and met during business hours on Monday morning. He called a convoy which brought in Pavlo. I explained to him who I am. He agreed to be represented by me. After that, after 3 or 4 hours of waiting, I got into the jail.
Скажите, когда
When will the next meeting
у вас
be?
следующая встреча с Павлом?
It's difficult to say. There's one office there for meetings between clients and lawyers, so if even 2 people arrive, it can be busy all day. Consular workers are going to try to get to him today or tomorrow.
Скажите вообще, как...
How is he feeling? What conditions is he living under? Does he have access to medicine?
Ему противопоказаны физические нагрузки и нужна специальная диета. Вот соблюдается ли это все?
I, thank God, have never tried prison food, so I can't say what kind of negative reactions it causes. They don't cook there, but rather bring food from another pretrial detention center in Krasnodar. Of course, it's extremely simple, cheap, ordinary food. There's no pickles and baskets of fruit, so he's content with what they give him. He says the food there isn't great, of course. There never was good food, neither in jail nor in the pretrial detention center, but in a few days there will be money on his account so he can buy himself food. Today, September 13th, I hope consular workers will make the transfer. I gave them a list of permitted groceries. It's possible they will manage to send this parcel to him. Regarding medicines, as of today, I don't have a medical prognosis that's properly certified, but the investigator is ready to accept it. I met with the jail's doctor and there are no problems transferring the medicines in accordance with the prognosis. It simply has to be purchased at a pharmacy that gives out a certificate of compliance, otherwise they won't accept it. Tomorrow or the day after, Pavlo will receive them. There are no special drugs there. He doesn't have any special instructions or medicines that could affect his body's vital functions. These are supportive therapy drugs. The doctor said that his current tests are normal. I can't verify this because there is a particular procedure for reviewing medical records. I didn't see any internal tests, but even if I had seen them, no one gave me a copy or a scan because it's an FSB detention center. This means that you don't have a phone, computer, or voice recorder. Even what he says, I can only tell you what he told me, but I can't prove it with any recordings.
Have you seen any documents pertaining to Pavlo's case? Did the investigator give you anything?
Some documents. The rest I will see the day after tomorrow.
What did Pavlo say about his imprisonment? What can you tell us? Did the investigators tell him anything?
I don't know the official position, the FSB position. They never broadcast it. Even if I knew, I wouldn't say because I signed an agreement not to. According to Pavlo, he says that on August 24th, he was walking to the bus station in the city of Gomel, Belarus, between 5 and 6 p.m. He had bought his ticket in advance and was preparing to head back to Ukraine. He didn't have money. He couldn't go anywhere else. He had his disability certificate with him, proving that he is disabled since childhood, and his passport. On one of the central streets, somewhere near the bus station and Pravda Avenue, some people in plain clothes came up to him, put him in a minibus and took him away. Naturally, his freedom of movement was limited. His hands were tied. They went somewhere, and at dusk, in some forest, they handed him over to other people. He didn't see the first people again. These other people took him somewhere. They brought him to some building. He doesn't know how long it took to get there because there were no windows. They fed him, stayed with him for maybe a day, half a day, 2, so he says. But as a matter of fact, I don't know how long. He himself doesn't know because it's difficult to determine the time of day if there's no clocks or sunlight. After this, again, according to him, the investigative brigade arrived. They formalized his detention in accordance with the Russian criminal code, and when they brought him to the police station, he saw the sign and found out that he was in the Smolensk region. I suspect in the village of Ryabtsevo. There he was fingerprinted. When a person is detained on suspicion of committing a crime or other offense, according to Russian law, fingerprints and photographs are taken. Then the brigade left with him for Krasnodar.
Was there a reason for his detention?
It was conducted in accordance with the law. A lawyer from this locality was invited to the appointment. At any rate, he didn't say anything about them failing to explain something to him. They explained to him why he was being detained.
When can Pavlo's family meet with him?
In Russia, meetings with relatives are not typically allowed in pretrial detention. They are more often not allowed than allowed, but the family has yet to express any such wishes, and I haven't submitted any requests. If the family expresses such a desire, I will formulate the request and receive an official response.
Ходатайства никакого не заявлял. Если семья заявит такое желание, я его оформлю, получу официальный ответ.
Do you know anything about the role of this girl that Pavlo was corresponding with?
I don't know anything.
And what is her role in this case? Is it also unknown?
So far, that's unknown to me, and even if it were known, I couldn't talk about it.
How do you assess the prospects of this case overall?
I can't comment on that.